lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this afternoon. There's lots to talk about today, and especially there is a report. There is a report in the mainstream media in Glasgow this afternoon talking about one of our players that is in close contact with another club. And I'm going to put it out there as just total BS. It's a BS article, and I'm going to show you where the original articles came from. And I'm going to talk through the original article and show you how the Scottish media have just lied. The guy it's just a lie. It is just a blatant lie. But before then, we're going to listen to Brendan Rodgers, and before that, we're going to listen to Alistair Johnston, and we're going to dissect what they said in their interviews at Celtic Park, Lennoxtown today.
It was a great feeling. It was a great performance again. It was difficult, I think, when we all kind of realized that when we were going for our team walk before and obviously warming up. It was obviously going to be a different kind of match, a different kind of challenge as well. They obviously have a really strong team and had a really strong start to the year. But I think it just shows that, we can go out there and win in any conditions. And I think that's a really important thing up here in Scotland, is that these winter months, not all the pitches are going to be the best. You're going to have to go to some pretty difficult places to play, not just because of the other team, but also because of, the weather and things like that. So I think it goes to show that we can still play our kind of football, even if it is whatever it was, like 60 mile an hour gusts of wind. It was horrible. It was a horrible night, but it was a good night for our fans and a good night for our team.
As a defender, what does those conditions do in a match for you? How difficult is it? Put it in your shoes.
You just really try to simplify things and not take anything for granted. Again, we're a really connected team, and normally we're at our best no matter what the conditions are when we are super connected, from back to front and from side to side. And I think in those games we really focus on that.
Don't say side to side, because people hate the side to side football that Brendan plays.
Helping each other out and not taking anything for granted. I think that's a big one. Balls going long, understanding that, CCV might clean that one up 100% of the time on a sunny day at Celtic Park, but up here you just got to take the extra little what if scenario, and I think we did a really good job with that. And even at the end, when a couple ones, like Trusty maybe doesn't get the best clearance possible, but then Cam
don't talk about that.
Flies in, makes a big block. It's things like that I think we did a really good job of, especially as defenders there, just defending, understanding what the match was going to be like, what the pitch was going to be like, and not really using that as an excuse. It
was interesting during that game because you see how close the connection that Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers has, because the first thing that the two of them did with each other, you might not have noticed it because the two of them were on their arses on the pitch, was they high-fived each other. And it was like, you got my back, I've got yours. And that's what's fantastic about this team just now.
Almost winning ugly in a sense. Just how important is that in terms of going on and winning a title? Winning those types of matches ugly. Not all going to be 4-5 nils.
No, 100%. Yeah, they're not all going to be perfect. They're not all going to be exactly what that Ross County first half was, when the goals just seem to be flying in, and we understand that, and that's something that I think every single team that's won titles up here, and obviously we have quite a few guys in that change room that have won quite a few. They understand that there are going to be difficult periods. It's not all going to
just a few
be perfect, but finding a way to get results is the most important thing, especially when you're going up against a team that's right up there in second place, and you go up there and you find a way to get 3 points. I think that'll always bode well, and it's a good sign of not only the quality of our team, but also the personality and kind of the ruggedness that we have with this group as well, which I think is going to be really important for a title defense here.
Have we downplayed the win against Aberdeen? I mean, if that was a game against the Sevco, for instance, right? I mean, it would have been, the headlines would have been fantastic. The fact that it was such a dogged win against Aberdeen, who are up there in second place on merit. And I hope that they finish the league in second place. I hope they don't fall away towards the end of the season. I hope they find it in their bank account to spend some money in the next transfer window, just to give them that little push towards the end of the season, so that I really mean that. I want Aberdeen to finish second for obvious reasons. And then, I think that we've downplayed it a bit because of the weather conditions, because it wasn't perfect football. I just there is that feeling that is it a feeling of thank God we got over the line with that? Because when you look back to the game against, let's go back as Ange, when he done the similar up in Ross County, and Tony Ralston scores the goal in the 97th minute. I mean, the fans went into absolute hysteria at that game. I mean, it was fantastic, and the media at the time were like, boom, the fans were, and I did say it's going to be a hard-dogged game on a late-night game during December. That's the turning point. It's always the turning point of the season. It has been for years. And I think this is probably the most difficult. Is it the most difficult game in the league that we've got in this December period? You've got to say yes, because Aberdeen are up there on merit. So we've got the hardest game at the way. Well, we've got a European game to consider, but that's we've got to do it in the league. And it was a dogged, good performance by the lads.
You talk about that title defence and you look how far you are ahead already. Is it difficult not to get carried away by that?
We're not that far ahead, and this, I mean, it is in the grand scheme of things. But when you look at the SPFL table, I mean, it's 7 points. Okay, it's 7 points to Aberdeen, and then it's 11 points down to the 13th place. 3 bad losses in the league would bring Aberdeen back into it. Will Celtic ultimately lose 3 games this season? I don't think so. People would keep on saying, putting in score predictions and seeing other teams are going to score 2. I can't see where Celtic are going to lose 2 goals. We've only lost 2 goals. We've lost 2 goals at home and 2 goals away all season. So when you're making your score predictions this weekend, just remember and take that into consideration. The defence has been phenomenal this season, and we're not giving the defence the credit that they should be getting. I mean, you've got to acknowledge that all the talk has been about, should Greg Taylor play, should he not play, should Liam Scales play, should he not play, who's the best players for those positions. But when you think about it, we've got a fantastic squad, and Brendan Rodgers is using that squad perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Anyway, let's get back to see what Alistair Johnston was saying.
No, I think we had a decent lead as well at beginning stages of last year, and I think that we learned pretty quickly that all it takes is a couple matches, a couple matches where you drop points, even a couple draws can really just bring other teams back into it. So, no, we're not really too focused on that. Again, it's still so early. We're just beginning in December. We've played 14 matches now, not even at the halfway point. So, for us, we're really just kind of focused on day after day, and I think that with how the schedule's set up, it kind of is difficult to get too caught up in the long-term goals, just because it feels like you get into this facility and it's a match. It's already match day -1 again. So again, we're not really too getting carried away with looking at the league table. For us, it's way too early, and we just know if we keep performing how we want to perform, the results will follow, and if we do that, then we'll take care of business.
Exactly. And when you look back to last December, people forget that we dropped points last December. It was uncanny, like Celtic, to drop points in 2 games in a row last December, and last December we got booed off the park after winning 1-0 against Ross County.
In terms of Hibs tomorrow, they've had a difficult start to the season, but they've had a couple of good results going into this. What do you expect from them?
No, they're a good team. That's something that we've always understood with Hibs. They always provide a good test. They come out here at Celtic Park, especially. I think they like to try and play their football. And yeah, it's been a difficult start to the season, but at the same time, I think since they've gotten back from this international break, they've had a little uptick in form. And I was talking to Junior Hoylett over there when we were at our international break, and he agreed. He was like, "Look, we have a good team. It wasn't clicking, but they knew that the pressure was on." So I think that that's a sign of a good team as well, that when the pressure is really starting to heat up, that they've now started to dig in and find some results. So they're going to be expecting to come to Celtic Park and put another good performance to show that they are continuing to go on that upward trajectory. But at the same time is that we've played this team multiple times now already this year. We're expecting something similar, but probably a slightly different approach, potentially with the back 5. So no, it'll be a good challenge for us, a good test, but again, one that we're excited for.
And it will be one of those games, because Hibs are one of out of the 3 teams in the bottom. I would say that Hibs are on the trajectory where they've turned the corner, and there is that potential for them to move up the league slightly. It's not going to happen this weekend because Celtic are ultimately going to win. But when you look at Hibs and you look at Kilmarnock, they're just rank rotten. When you look at Hearts, well, for obvious reasons, I want those 2 to go down. And I just think that Hibs will manage to, in the next couple of weeks, especially at this time of year, I think Hibs will turn the corner after the Celtic game and go into the new year and hopefully get above Kilmarnock and put a little bit of space between themselves and Kilmarnock. And that turning point of the season is always an important part. And I think that if Hibs can do that, then it's all fine and good. But we're only interested in Celtic, Baz.
Alistair, you mentioned, well, you've been in Scotland now for a couple of years, and you mentioned obviously those conditions the other night, and I just wondered, do you act as, you know, an advisor to maybe the newer players coming in about the December schedule, the type of weather conditions they might face?
It's for Canada, mate. They get real snow. They get like 10-foot snow drifts. Do you know what I mean? I don't think a wee bit of wind and rain in Scotland is really up there with epic weather as far as a Canadian's concerned.
I mean, for me being Canadian, I'm kind of used to those kind of pitches, and I think a lot of the guys understand. They have a pretty good understanding of what they're getting into when they come up here. Even Celtic Park, you know, in January, December, it can be really difficult. I know our groundskeepers, it's not easy to keep grass growing in these kind of temperatures during the winter. But again, I think all the guys have a pretty good understanding of what they're getting into, but it is different once you actually get up there. You get out there and the winds, the rain, the snow, whatever it is, it definitely takes a little getting used to. But again, all of our guys have acclimated very well, I thought.
Yeah. And sorry, but the fact that asking a Canadian about bad weather, and I'm glad to see that he laughed. I'm glad to see that he did laugh. Anyway, that's enough of Alistair Johnston for today. And Brendan Rodgers, because we've got lots to talk about Brendan Rodgers, because he has a dig at some teams in Scotland. We must be the most wealthiest league in the world to have so many empty seats at a game. So let's listen to Brendan Rodgers. Before we go, remember that we are collecting money. We are doing an all-day fundraiser on December the 26th. We are doing on Boxing Day, and we're raising money for the Celtic Foundation, which you see the link, which is going along the screen here. It will be in the description, and I make no apologies for going on about this in every single video, because I'm trying to raise as much money as I can on Christmas Day for the Celtic Foundation. The Celtic Foundation is the charity arm of Celtic FC, and it's having a Christmas appeal. I plan to finish off their Christmas appeal for hopefully raising £4,000, £5,000, £6,000, £7,000. For every £1,000 that is raised will equal 1 hour that I will be on YouTube. So it's going to be entirely up to the fans on the day how long I am on YouTube, whether it be 1 hour, whether it be 2 hours, whether it be 3, 4 or 5 hours. That's just... I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of donations do come in on the day, and there'll be a lot of things going on during that day for us. Just keep an eye out for it. It's going to be something different, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. So thank you to everyone who has donated already. Already we've received an absolutely fantastic amount of money. We are sitting on 73% of the target for the first £1,000. We're sitting on £736 already, which is a fantastic amount considering we only started this 4 or 5 days ago. So the fact that it has made such a big dent into it already, it's absolutely fantastic, and I thank everyone that has donated. And I know it is a hard time of year for you to be parting with hard-earned cash, but even if everyone on this channel was to donate £1, that would be a fantastic amount of money. You know, I'm not asking people to put in 5 or 10, or a couple of pound would do. Something that, it's not going to be even more than the price of a coffee back home is around about £6, isn't it? A pint's about £6. So just do away with one of your pints and make a donation, please. I'd be highly delighted if you do. Now let's listen to Brendan Rodgers and see some of the nonsense questions that he was asked today, and the backlash about empty seats around Scottish football.
A real collective effort by everyone, so the team has performed fantastically well, and all the staff have been really supportive, so yeah, on to the next game.
Alistair was in there and saying that game at Aberdeen the other night is the kind of game that does win you titles because you had to dig deep. Would you go along with that?
Well, I think that what has been so pleasing over the course of the season has been the variety of ways of which we can win. I think that's always important as a team. I think our ethos here and our idea and our style is always to play fast, aggressive attacking football, always with tactical discipline. So that's our idea, and you'll have seen numbers of games this season where we've seen that identity of the team. But you also have to respect that other teams aren't going to allow you to do that all the time, and they're going to come and make it difficult for you, like Aberdeen, who've done really well this season. They were really compact, tight, they break the game up, so you don't quite have your flow.
which was a different type of football to what Aberdeen are playing all season, a different type of football to the one that they played the second half at Celtic Park, where they managed to get 2 goals back. So it was interesting that Jimmy up in Aberdeen did that tactical change, and that Brendan was fully aware of what the other opposing manager was doing.
So you then have to still persist in your work, trust your possession, trust the speed of your game in horrendous weather conditions, and then look for those moments, which might only be few and far between, but you have to try to find them, and that's what we've done. So I think over the course of the season, that's been the real pleasing aspect of our victories and wins, and none better than, like you say, the game the other night to demonstrate that.
Away from the league, the SPFL today charged Celtic, Motherwell and Rangers with the pyrotechnics at the League Cup semi-finals. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is exactly the same as what it is when I see it at any other ground or any team, and is that it's the safety is of paramount importance, I think, for firstly the people in the stands. I always worry about people that are in and around that area when they're going off. When you're young, sometimes you don't see the dangers, you don't see or think of other people, but that's a concern for me, for supporters, especially our own supporters when they're there. And then my concern is also for then the players, because when you're preparing for a game, a football, it's detailed, your preparation to the second, so that you're ready to go whenever the kick-off is ready to start. And I think we're 14 minutes delay in that semi-final. Now that can be the cause of someone getting injured, especially when it's at this time of the year. You know, you prepare, your details there, you go to start the game, but you can't. You're standing about, you're waiting. So all that preparation that you've put in, the body's cold again then, the muscles then are at risk. So these are the little things that maybe you would never think about when you're holding the flare or sticking something up in the air. But I just think that the safety element of it for supporters and players is of paramount. So it's not just Celtic, it's the message and notion is for every club.
There have been UEFA charges for this before, but this is the first time the SPFL have taken action. Has that surprised you?
It's not a surprise. I just think it's something that should be done. I don't see what it adds to the game. So I think it's right that they look into it and try to stop it. Hopefully.
The away fans in Europe have sort of heeded the warning from the last time when it was in danger of maybe a fan closure or whatnot. I suppose the hope is that this may be the first, but hopefully the last when it comes to the league as well, and the fans do listen, because there's also a monetary value as well, maybe a fine coming or whatnot, and these all add up, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for across the board, I think it's the league have the possibility then to create a sanction that ensures that hopefully it doesn't happen, because the Celtic support, but what we get without all of that is absolutely amazing. The colour, the noise, the energy, what it gives us on the field is absolutely amazing. So the Paris doesn't add anything. It doesn't add anything. We get this amazing support. It's renowned worldwide. Our support base is iconic. Everyone wants to play at Celtic Park. Everyone wants to be here. Why? Because of the supporters. So we want to keep it that way, and hopefully, as I said, like the league domestically can do something as well.
See, rather than Celtic and Brendan Rodgers being asked that question, if the SPL are going to do any type of sanctions, I think that sanctions should ultimately be brought on a club that has brought the game into disrepute over many, many seasons for outspending within its capacity to run a viable club. And do you know, if they want to start looking at things and they're targeting fans, and yes, I'm going to say, the pyro thing has to be addressed, but if they're going to start looking at and being really pernickety with fans, they really need to think about the clubs that are within the SPFL. They're all good at docking points when teams do go into administration, but when clubs are not financially run in a correct manner, and we all know who we're talking about here, and when clubs basically cheat the system to survive and Celtic do it the right way by selling players, by building profitable football club. Yet other clubs seem to get away with absolute friggin' murder when it comes to the finances and being open and honest with the finances. Because let's face it, there was many years in the SPL over the last couple of years that a club didn't even put out its accounts, its real accounts. I'm all for stopping pyro and stuff, but rather than fucking hitting the working fan and coming down on the working fan, try out the cheating clubs that are there that are just, Anyway, we move on, we digress.
Week, 3 massive games. Just how excited are you in the squad for what could be a real season-defining week if all things go well?
Well, the focus is tomorrow. I think that was clearly on our mind after Aberdeen. Get back, recover, and then look to bring our game and be really proactive in the game tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to it. We love playing at home. We love the energy. Our last home game, we were absolutely brilliant. Our idea is to bring a similar game, and that's something I'm excited about.
I've got to say, we're 5 minutes into this interview and nobody's asked mine, is there going to be any tactical changes? Is there going to be any player changes? Hopefully that'll change in the next 7.5 minutes, but nobody's asked that question yet. And is there going to be player rotation? But we'll, hopefully that will get asked.
What you made of the job that David Grace seemed to turn that around after quite a difficult spell in charge at Hibs? Yeah,
well, I'm delighted for David. You get that first win, and when you're young as a manager and you're into it new, you know, the sleepless nights, and you know you're thinking of everything, and then to get that victory against Motherwell, that it certainly makes the food taste nicer on a Saturday night, up challenging at the top, and like I said, David's the perfect guy to help them get there. Really, we were doing that anyway, so I think for me it's just about obviously using the squad. I've total trust in the group of players to play. So whatever team will send out for tomorrow was out to attack the game.
Has it been tough to make them focus on this one without looking too far ahead?
Not really. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say you don't think ahead. Of course you do. That's the nature of my job. I have to plan forward, of course. But always you have to look to the next game as your priority. You need to understand what it is you're thinking about for clearly the Zagreb game, like I was when we had Ross County, but we had Aberdeen. So you have to plan forward. But that's the exciting part of the job. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got a great group of players that are hungry, that are ambitious, and they all want to play, which is great. If they don't, they respect whoever's playing. They look after their colleague. And then we're all in to get the result. And
it's interesting that Brendan Rodgers, I mean, he is obviously going to make some squad rotation this weekend, and he spoke about it, that he made squad rotation for the Ross County game, bringing in young Luke. Well, he's not so young. People say he's not young, he's 26. Man, that's no young. It's young. When you're on the other side, it's young, trust me. But yeah, when he can bring in Luke McCowan and Paolo Bernardo, who is younger, to that team, it does give a little bit of confidence. And Brendan's in his happy place just now, which is absolutely fantastic. Does it seem to you, tell me this in the comments, do you think that Brendan is I don't want to use this one, because the last time that it was used in Scottish football, are you happy? We all know what happened then. And a manager was asked if he was happy. He said, of course I'm happy. And he was at the door 2 weeks later. But that was across the other road, the other side of the city. But ultimately, do you think that Brendan Rodgers is happier this time at Celtic rather than the first time? And I've just got a funny feeling I think he is. I think everything's going his way this time.
In terms of squad health then, you know, in terms of this weekend, have we got any knocks or anyone struggling at all?
No, we're all good. We're in a really, really good place. So, and I think that is also part of the rotation. I think what enables us to do that, because sometimes if you don't have it's the knock-on effect. If you don't have the depth of squad and the strength in your squad, you're maybe having to play players for 90 plus minutes 3 times a week, playing them all the time, which is then you have a greater risk of injury. What we've been able to do is manage the minutes of the players, and where there has been maybe a little niggle, we can then take someone out, or if someone has played a lot more minutes, then we have that possibility to take them out. That's the benefit of having a depth of squad. So,
And do you know what's good also? That you don't see at Celtic when there's a substitution, you don't see a player spitting the dummy out. You don't see a player spitting the dummy out. So this is, they obviously talk about this in the squad rotation within the elements of the training and the talks that Brendan has with the squad before games and after games and during the training. Well, you can't call them training sessions, but the sessions in between. And there's nobody spitting the dummy out when they come off the pitch. There's nobody going, fucking, why am I getting fucking taken? No, fucking. Do you know, there's none of that. It's like they're coming off and they're high-fiving, and it's like, boom, and they're high-fiving the manager, and there's no ill feeling. Unlike when you could think back to maybe the Grumpy Greek who went on to social media and he's complaining that he's not getting enough minutes. And I think that's the difference with this squad this year, is that when a player does get taken off, he's not going, he's not throwing his head down in the air, and he's not giving the manager evils. He's not talking back to the manager. And there is that understanding that it is all about game time. It's the upcoming games. Alistair Johnston said it. He says, you're not even getting a chance to have a breather in between games just now. You know, the time you go back into training, it's game day -1, as he said.
So I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. Picking the teams to put out, and then and giving that opportunity for some of them to have some breathing space. It also can depend on the game that you're playing and what it is you want from the game. That will decide who plays also.
And we're going to ask you a wee bit about the pyro again, the charges. Do you think it's fair that, we've spoken about strict liability in this country for years now, and the SPFL have always told us that's unmanageable and won't work. Is it fair that the clubs are the ones who are being punished when the game was at hand and there's very little you can do about that kind of behaviour? Or do you hope that maybe it registers with the fans that it's the club that suffers when you do act like this?
Well, it's a wee bit of both, but I think ultimately it comes from the federation. For me, that's where the sanction should really come from. I think
So does the sanctions come from the SFA then, and not the SPFL? That's interesting.
I haven't actually looked into the real depths of it. I obviously get the headline and I see a little bit of it, and I think, yeah, that seems logical and common sense. But I think, if you have your league and the responsibility with your league, working with your, as I said, your federation to govern the game and make it as safe and enjoyable as we possibly can.
Interesting.
I know that's sometimes a wee bit of a challenge up here, because...
So Brendan Rodgers is just having a complete dig now at the SPFL and the way that the SPFL was run.
I do sometimes. I look at some of the things that we do. We must have the richest league in the world up here because I see stands that are empty. So clubs must be full of money that they don't need the people in the grounds and the stadia. But no, we can only hope that side of it, the pyro side, that we can...
Well done, Brendan Rodgers, for turning the narrative. And once again, the media will be jumping on the narrative. And I'm going to talk about the media in a minute, remember, because there's a headline that's came out today that a Celtic player is going to be leaving Celtic. But Brendan Rodgers turning the narrative on its head and saying, look, never mind having to dig at Celtic and having to dig at the fans here. This should be on the SPFL's head and not just the SFA. It should be them that should be making the changes.
Take that away from the games and let it be a safe place, because the passion up here for football is amazing.
Back to football again, because it's actually about Casper and his influence in the team. I thought even the other night, Rodgers, everyone was so clean in a really tricky night for him. It seems quite seamless the way he's come in.
Yeah, his style, and that's where it comes into play. Those pressure moments, ball goes back, especially conditions like that there. Goalkeepers, or some, might not be as comfortable, so they then can end up just defending it and going long too early, and then it comes right back at you. But he brings the calmness. He's, as I said, I've worked with him a long time, and I know his qualities. A world-class shot stopper. He's great with his feet. His authority in the game was superb, and like you say, his handling is so clean. So he's been massive for us. Just his whole presence and personality, and I'm really happy for him.
It's good to see that Brendan's happy with him, because when you see the pictures of the Celtic keepers training together, you see Sinisalo looking at him, and he must be like this in Casper's ear every minute of the day. He must be just like this, just asking questions and asking why he did this in games and how to improve his own personal game. And I think that this education that Sinisalo's having over this season, and hopefully into a bit of next season, I think that if Casper is kept next season, hopefully Brendan does talk about that, and then it does allow Sinisalo to gradually earn his right to take over the throne in between the posts.
Well, he's got the option for next year as well, or next season as well. Do you feel he's a guy that can keep going for a while?
Yeah. No, that has always been his ambition. When I first met him back in 2019 in Leicester, he's his hunger and drive and desire. He's like a young guy, 15 years younger than what he is. He's so much enthusiasm for the game and so much enthusiasm for goalkeeping as well. To throw himself about like he does every single day. I really have a big respect for him. So yeah, he's obviously got his own personal targets in terms of he's got a World Cup that he will hope to be at. Yeah. But I just know that he's loved his life here. He's enjoying his life, and thankfully he's performing at a very high level for us.
How pleased were you for Cameron Carter-Vickers as well, coming up with that massive moment in that game after, probably I think maybe his first mistake in his Celtic career in the Bruges game, but it was such a high profile thing to then show that desire to produce that moment.
Yeah, I said to him and Austin set that up quite well to make themselves look heroic. So he's a brilliant player for us. He's got such authority in the game, and firstly he's defending strong, he's good in duels, reads the game, brave. You go to war with him, he's such a strong character, mentally tough, and but then he can play football. Yeah. He can pass it, he knows these lines of pass, organises the line well, so yeah, he's a big player for us, and like you say, when you see it back, he's anticipated and reacted to the to Austin's touch, and just gets an absolutely critical block on it, and that's what you get from your big players, big moments.
Yeah, big moments from the player, and it's good that Brendan Rodgers could have a little bit of a laughing matter about it, making the two of them look like superheroes setting up for each other. Now let's get to the transfer bullshit headline. Let's just call it out for what it is, Baz. It is a bullshit a bullshit headline that is in the Glasgow World this evening. The Glasgow World, just at 5 o'clock tonight, 5 o'clock Celtic part time, put out a thing on their website. Brentford and Brighton in close contact. It's got in close brackets, in close contact with 3 million star that could leave for 5 times the price. Now that's an allegation that says that the player, that they're actually in talks. Putting in closed brackets like that, it said that it's insinuating that they're in talks with the player. Brentford and Brighton Hove Albion are believed to be in talks to sign highly rated Celtic winger Nicholas Kuhn in the January transfer window. The hoops are flying high at the top of the score. Fucking bullshit. That's all I need to read. That's enough of the read it, right? That's enough that I need to read. When you go back and look at the original post, right, it was on a blog called Team Talk. And this is the headline, and it's from yesterday, the 5th of January, and it was put out, and it's a pure speculation article. There's no truth, there's no, they're in talks or anything. It is just a pure speculation article. Brentford line up January bid for 11-goal Celtic winger, but Brighton pose transfer threat. Brentford and Brighton Hove Albion are considering a January move for Celtic winger Nicholas Kuhn. Sources have exclusively revealed to Team Talk, and that's it. It says that the 24-year-old has been the best player in 20 appearances. We understand that Brentford are considering a January bid, with the manager the German manager a big admirer of the winger. They're considering a bid. There is no talks. The Scottish media once again, and then it also goes on to say that Brighton also have a good relationship with Celtic, having signed Matt O'Reilly from the Scottish side for 25 million in the last summer. The Seagulls have a long scouting network in Scotland, and Kuhn is a player that has been up there as the money. Like that's it. There's nothing else. But once again, this idiot, I'm going to name him Curtis Leyland, Curtis Leyland, you're writing pure and utter shite about one of our Celtic players. Brendan Rodgers has been on record saying that there is absolutely no way that we want to sell our best players, and especially when it comes down to the winter transfer window. I'm going to put it on record right now. Celtic will not sell Nico Kuhn in the next transfer window. They're never going to do it. Never going to do it. Celtic will never sign. The fact that this Curtis Leyland is called out and put this article out, I mean, Glasgow World should be ashamed of themselves. It is just a pure nonsensical article that's trying to upset a Celtic player when the original article was a pure speculative article saying that they are considering putting in a bid for a player. Many clubs consider putting in for bids for players, but they never materialise. Celtic consider many players over the summer, and the offers never materialised, or one thing or the other happened, and they couldn't get the deals done. Shame on you. The Scottish media always come out there for all the good that some of the younger media types within the Celtic media try and do. You've always got somebody in the mainstream media that comes out with total bullshit. And anyway, that's enough of that. I hope you've enjoyed your Friday night. We are on 20,113 subscribers. Absolutely buzzing for that. I will be back. Will we do a live on Saturday morning? We might do a live at 9 o'clock Celtic Park time tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for that, because there isn't one tonight. So yeah, we'll do a live for that, and we'll talk about the preparation for Celtic versus Hibernian. We'll talk about the potential changes in the team that Brendan Rodgers might make tomorrow afternoon, and predicted scorelines. Don't be thinking that the Hibs are going to score 2 against Celtic, because I can't see it. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic evening wherever you are, Celtic fans all around the world.